Alright, welcome back fellow humans to a new video on the Scrubboards channel. How y'all doing? Because I'm doing pretty good. You saw the title of the video, I ain't gonna mince it. This is a review of The Hobbit. But before we get into that, I would like to briefly mention a schedule of some sorts for this channel, right? Because what's going on? What's happening on this channel? I briefly was like, oh, maybe I should make this a separate video, but I think it's just easier to put it in this. So that's what I'm going to do. As you guys, as anyone watching can tell, I just made 2 Percy Jackson videos, and now I'm making a Hobbit video. So what is this channel? What do I do on this channel, right? Well, if you're new or you've been around a while, you just want to know, I'm pretty much just going to turn this channel into a book channel. I like books. I read a lot of books, from novels to comics to manga, the whole 9 yards, right? And, you know, I like other stuff, but it just doesn't interest me making like a video on a movie. Like, I just don't really, that doesn't really grab me currently. Maybe I will if something happens, but right now, I kind of just want to talk about books and read books, which is why I made a bunch of Percy Jackson videos. Unfortunately, that kind of burned me. If you've watched the video, long as it is, thank you if you did, it kind of ruined me. And I really didn't want to read a book for a month. This Hobbit video was supposed to come out a lot sooner. But it took me this long to read The Hobbit, which is a very short book, because I was destroyed mentally after reading 30 or like 21 books in a month and then reviewing them. But I'm back. I will hopefully be keeping to a decent schedule, which I will not say the schedule here. I'm going to keep it a bit of a surprise what comes next and everything, you know, unless people who watch this want the schedule and I can release what the schedule is. But for now, why don't we get into the book? Alright, The Hobbit. Everybody knows what The Hobbit is. Everyone knows what Lord of the Rings is. I'm not even going to sit here and, you know, I'm not going to explain any of that. This is the premier fantasy franchise, right? When you think fantasy, you think Lord of the Rings. People think Lord of the Rings, right? So that's what we're here to just talk about The Hobbit, running down a few things. I want to get, I guess, the cons and like the intro out of the way. So I have not read any of the Lord of the Rings books. I've seen the movies. I've seen the Hobbit movies. You know, I've seen even like the animated Hobbit movie I watched as a kid. So I haven't read any of the Lord of the Rings books or the Silmarillion, none of that. But I have read The Hobbit before, so this was a reread, right? I've read this book I think twice. This might be my 3rd time. This might be my 2nd time. A little unsure, right? So I knew I was gonna like this book. This wasn't a question of like, oh, would I like The Hobbit? But I wanted to know, reading it in 2023 after just rereading the Percy Jackson books, and, you know, last year I finished Wheel of Time, or did I finish Wheel of Time last year? I don't know, but like, you know, for the past 2 years I've been reading Wheel of Time and like Cosmere, so I've been reading these big, epic fantasy franchises. I read First Law. That's all stuff like pre me deciding to make book videos. Maybe one day I'll make videos on those franchises. But regardless, you know, I finished these big new fantasy franchises that you hear people talk about in the modern age. So I was like, well, I finally want to read Lord of the Rings. But I don't want to just read Lord of the Rings. I want to know, like, does it hold up? Like, if I read The Hobbit, which was made, I should have fact-checked this, but it was like the 1930s or the 1940s. Like, if I read this old-ass book, does it hold up in writing style and story and characters and all that stuff, right? And I will say, it does. The Hobbit is a great book. It is such an enjoyable time. But I do have some cons before we get to the pros. I like to get cons out of the way, because why not? So, first of all, I think the characters are kind of weak in this book. Bilbo's fantastic. He really goes on like little character arc, you know, learning how to be coming out of his shell and adventuring more. It's great. I love Bilbo. He's funny. I Bilbo's great. I really like Gandalf. Gandalf's not really in the book a lot, but he makes an impression for the scenes he is in. He really comes off as this like ancient, old, powerful wizard who also just wants to smoke all day. It's great. That being said, the dwarves don't really have characters. There's 13 of them, and they say their names. Like, Tolkien says their names a lot. But they don't feel distinct. So, like, some of them do. So there's, like, Thorin Oakenshield. He's the king under the mountain, or he will be. And he's kind of the leader, and he's the most serious of the dwarves. But then there's, like, Bombur, who's, like, fat. Bombur's, like, the fat one, and he's the lazy one. And then that's it. And I get it. It's a book written in the 30s. But I want to, really look at it. And I just don't think all the dwarves are great. I don't really like any of them. I like Thorin. And there's some fun scenes with a couple of the dwarves. But, like, I don't know. 13's a lot. I think you probably could have trimmed it down to a good few less dwarves, in my opinion. I think some of the other characters are fine, though. Gollum and Smaug, the dragon. Fair warning. Me and my friends have this bit where we mispronounce Smaug's name every time we say it. So if I call him like Smoog or Smoogith in this video, I'm gonna do it. It's because of that. I can't help myself. But Smoog and Gollum are great. I love them. They make such an impact when they do show up. But it's just like the main dwarves, I just don't think are that interesting. They just don't really do anything. Or they do things. But I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if it's just me. But like, they're not that interesting. There's a lot of them. I feel like you're not going to remember all their names unless you've read this book like 7 times. So I don't know. That's my like biggest complaint about The Hobbit is I think there's just too many dwarves. My second biggest complaint, I think maybe my last complaint, there's a lot of music. Like, Tolkien writes a lot of songs, and it feels weird. They're well made, by the way. They're well written songs. Like, the lyrics are fun, but like, it's just odd. And I like that he does write music. It really fleshes out Middle Earth, because people sing in real life, and like people make up songs out of nowhere and stuff, but like, it just comes off as strange to me. And I'm interested, if anybody watches this, I'll probably post this video on a Reddit, like the Middle Earth Reddit or something, so hopefully it gains some traction. I would like to know other people's opinions. Like, do people like the songs? Because I really don't know. And I don't hate the songs. Some of them, there's a lot of them, and they feel out of place, in my opinion. It just felt a little bit weird. And I will say, I just thought of this. Third complaint. Bard. For those who don't know, Bard is the descendant of like the King of Dale, I believe. And Bard's the one who kills Smoogith at the end of the book. And I'm okay with the dwarves not killing Smoog. I get that. It makes sense. Tolkien kind of sets that up the whole time. But it feels a bit weird for this character they've talked to like 4 times. Like, he's in like max 7 to 10 pages before he kills the dragon. It just feels really weird to be on this like epic adventure. You're on this quest, and then at the end of the quest, this random guy, like this random NPC solves the quest. Like, if you were playing a video game or Dungeons and Dragons, that would just be weird. It'd feel odd and out of place. It's not the worst thing ever, and like I said, Tolkien sets it up well enough that I understand why Bard had to be the one to do it. But it just feels a bit odd. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Again, I'd like to know your thoughts. But why don't we get into some pros of this book? Okay. getting to some prose of this book. It's written beautifully. Tolkien writes it in, I'm going off my head, it's like this third person sort of view, and I love it. I love the way Tolkien writes. It still holds up. It's great. It's like, I don't have words to say how good it is. It's so much fun. There's a shit ton of world building, which everyone gives Tolkien the praise for being like the best at. And I know he gets better in Lord of the Rings apparently, but goddamn, you can see it. Like, you will just know shit about this world. You will learn facts that even sometimes the characters don't really know, or the characters don't even hear about. But Tolkien will just be like, here's this thing, right? Like, they'll be like, oh, it's a shitty example, but it's like, oh, they stepped on this twig. Well, little did they know that this twig was the same twig that insert this character from myth and legend stepped on, right? Like, that's kind of the stuff Tolkien does, where it's like, here's this thing, and it gets crazier if you think about it. And I love that. It does. It's a little weird. Like, if I could completely understand why someone wouldn't like that, but as like as a dungeon master and as a fantasy nerd, it's the kind of shit I love. Oh, I hit my desk. Sorry about that. It's the kind of shit I love where it's just like so many cool little facts. Like, here's just facts that make this world feel real and alive. And I love that. So I wanted to get Tolkien's writing, fantastic, definitely holds up. I think Bilbo as a character and as his growth is great as well. He truly changes over the course of the book. You can see every step of the way he is changing and evolving until he becomes what he is at the end of the book, which I love. I'm trying to think of... There's a lot of positives. This book is great, and I'm trying to think of like how to word my positives, if that makes sense. How do I say them? So Bilbo, great character. Now I'm repeating myself. Apologies. Oh, that's right. This book is very whimsical. I don't know if people have described it that way before, but it feels it's like whimsical. It's like a little happy journey. Some characters die and they go through like hardships, but by the end of the day, you've just gone on this like fun little adventure. You just had this fun time, and it just feels nice. It makes me feel warm inside. I'm like happy after, like, when I finished it like 5 minutes ago, I was just like, damn, what a good book. Like, what a good happy little journey I went on. And I think part of what helps that little like happy journey feeling is it really does just feel like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which I know like pretty much everybody's Dungeons and Dragons is influenced by Lord of the Rings in some way or another, like whether it be the original game being influenced by Lord of the Rings, or just like a game, a world you've created in Dungeons and Dragons is influenced by Lord of the Rings, so it makes sense. But they just go on like fun adventures. It's like, oh, Bilbo's fighting trolls now, and oh, now they're fighting goblins, and now they're fighting wolves, and the elves have gotten in their way. Now they have to fight the elves. Like, they just have these fun little mini adventures that all build and culminate in the final adventure, and I think it works really well. And it really does feel like a Dungeons and Dragons game, which, I don't know, just makes me happy, I guess, is the best way to describe it. I'm just happy when I'm reading The Hobbit. And, like, my two favorite sections in the book, though, are probably, like, the least happy moments. Specifically when Bilbo meets Gollum. That is perfect. Genuinely, such a tense-filled scene. Like, you feel it, right? It's this dangerous scene, and it's in the middle of the book, and it matters, because that's where Bilbo gets his ring, but, like, it also doesn't, like, Gollum doesn't come back. The only thing that matters about that scene is that Bilbo gets the one ring, which they don't even know is the one ring yet. It's just kind of like this magic ring that makes Bilbo invisible. Isn't that fun? And it is fun. It's great. And my second favorite scene is the scene with Smoog, which is also so well written. The second they get to the mountain, the mood shifts. You know, you've been on this happy, fun little adventure, and then it's like dark and grim because the dwarves have finally made it back to their home. They know the dragon is waiting for them. They've got to beat this dragon somehow. And like Bilbo goes in there to figure it out, and then like Smoog wakes up and Bilbo has to talk to him, and I love their dialogue. It works so well. Tolkien knows how to write a villain, I think, very well. He also knows how to write comedy, which I don't know if people have mentioned, but like this book's kind of funny. Like there's just fun dialogue. Bilbo's funny to get his internal monologue is funny because half the time it's just him complaining about how stupid the stuff he's dealing with is, and I kind of love that. I don't know, it's fun. Sue me, I guess. I don't think you will. I think everyone agrees, but like, you know, I don't have much else to say. I've kind of run out of things to say. If you can't tell, my cons are like, yeah, this is my problems with the book, but like, it's a good book. Not much else I can say about it, especially because I've read it before, so it's not really like this is new to me. So I'm just like, it's good. And I think I'm gonna end the video there. Thanks for watching. Seriously, I hope this was entertaining in any way, because I like making these book videos, and this is kind of what I want to do. And I'm trying to evolve the formula and really just get a formula and know how to do this properly. So if you made it this far, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, you know, tell me, I don't know, like the video, do all that nonsense. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe. You don't have to subscribe. This channel's kind of shitty. But what I will ask is, if you're going to leave a comment, recommend a book series for me to read and review. Obviously not Percy Jackson or the Lord of the Rings books, because that's very clearly, I've already done Percy Jackson, and I'm clearly working on the Lord of the Rings books right now. But I don't know, if you have something you want to see, whether it be a book, a manga, a comic, a web novel, or really just anything, hit me with it. I will check it out when my schedule's free. So I hope viewers, fellow humans, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on the next video.